Let's talk some baseball, but the vintage variety, Don. You had a chance to see the movie today. I saw it Saturday, talking about 42, the Jackie Robinson movie, and I'll let you go first, and I wrote some notes down, and we'll do a little Siskel and Ebert here.
Okay. I really enjoyed the movie, to be honest with you, and let me, first of all, preface my remarks by saying I was a dyed-in-the-wool Dodger fan until they left to go to California. I lived and died with the Dodgers and knew every player and you know, all the things that went with it, and I just thought that they did, in some cases, an extremely good job. They showed in the beginning, as you know, you've seen it as well, a little bit of what it was like, you know, with the war and all the other things leading up to Jackie coming in. I thought Harrison Ford, I'm sure he's going to get a nomination, if not Best Supporting Actor. He's certainly going to get something in that category. He played Branch Rickey, I think, as well as Branch Rickey could have been played, and he looked a lot like Branch Rickey when they finished with the makeup and everything. A lot of folks won't remember Branch Rickey, and I don't think he got enough credit, to be honest with you, for what happened. He's sort of on the periphery. Jack has taken over all the. Jack himself has taken over all the publicity for what happened, and rightfully so. He was the one that went through it, but Branch Rickey was the one that orchestrated what happened, and I did like the fact that they pointed out in the beginning, as Mr. Rickey said right in the beginning, it's a money proposition. There are a lot of great baseball fans in New York, and Jackie Robinson coming into baseball is going to be a great impetus for more fans coming to the ballpark and the teams making more money, and that more black players will come in afterwards. So I thought that part of it, they really did a great job. I disagree with one, and I may be incorrect. I've got to go back down and take a look. I was going to do it as soon as I got home, but we got into doing the show and didn't have a chance. The one time when they had Gene Hermansky, to the best of my recollection, was a left-handed batter, not a right-handed batter, and that the incident with Pee Wee Reese took place at shortstop, not at first base. And as I remembered, anyway.
Putting his arm around him, you're talking about, right? Putting his arm around Jackie.
Yeah, right. They had it at first base in the movie, and maybe I don't remember correctly. Maybe it wasn't. I thought it was at shortstop that it happened. But that's neither here nor there. It was well done. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was written well and produced well and photographed well. And the young man that played Jackie Robinson, he looked a little bit like Jackie Robinson, and I thought he did a great job.
I didn't realize. I knew Jackie Robinson played first base later in his career. I didn't know he started at first base. Was that accurate?
That's correct.
Then he went to second, right? So he did start at first base?
Well, as they said in the movie, that was correct. They weren't going to move Pee Wee Reese. He wasn't going to be a shortstop. And also, when he was in Montreal, they realized he didn't have a strong enough arm to be a shortstop to begin with. So they were going to play him at second base. And all during his minor league year with Montreal, he played second base. But then they had Eddie Stanky playing second base, who was, a mainstay in the Dodger organization for a long period of time. And so there was only one place that was opened up, and that was first base, as they pointed out in the movie. And that's where Jackie started.
Yeah, I did not realize that he started at first base. I agree with you. I think Harrison Ford, who normally doesn't play character parts, he normally kind of plays himself. That's been his career, a version of himself, no matter what character he's playing. But this was truly a character part that you almost forget it's Harrison Ford. The voice of it is different than what Ford usually talks like. The makeup, of course. We did a whole show on Branch Rickey. Remember, we had Lee Lowenfish on, wrote a whole book about him, and so we got to know a little bit about Branch Rickey, what he was like. And I think from at least reading the book and talking to Lee and you, I think Ford seemed to capture the essence of Rickey pretty well.
Well, I'll tell you, they could almost make a movie, in my view, about Rickey. The way he built the St. Louis Cardinal franchise, the way he was the one that started the whole concept of the minor league being the feeder. Then he went to, from St. Louis, where he had great teams, to the Dodgers, where he had shortage of money, and still was able to developed the same type of farm system, developed, of course, Dodger Town. He was the first major league team to have their own minor league complex, totally everybody in the same area. He was the one that started that. Then when he got into the financial problems with Mr. O'Malley, and Mr. O'Malley forced him out, he went to Pittsburgh, and he did the same thing again with the Pirates. So, they could almost make a story on Branch Rickey and the history of baseball, and he was a very unique man who they didn't necessarily point it out. I think they said he was a Methodist, and Jackie's a Methodist or something, but he didn't go to baseball games on Sunday. It was a funny thing. A guy that was so devoted to the game and worked so hard in the front office and was so aware of what was going to sell tickets, he started the day-night doubleheaders because he needed to have more money. They couldn't give 2 games away anymore, so he started the day-night doubleheaders. And, he had a great career of his own, and I just don't think he really gets enough credit for all the things that he did.
He liked those cigars, though, for a religious man. He chewed on those cigars pretty good. But a couple other things. I thought, like I said, the guy who played Jackie, from pictures I've seen and videos of Jackie, he had the facial resemblance. The batting stance looked pretty good. From what I've seen of Jackie's batting stance in films, I thought he had that put down pretty well. Looked like the actor could play some baseball. A lot of times in baseball movies, the actors can't play ball at all. I mean, look at Gary Cooper. Great movie where he played Lou Gehrig, right, but you could tell he never swung a bat before.
Or Tony Perkins.
Tony Perkins playing Jimmy Pearsall. That was another one.
The only difference I would say, and I said at the outset, I thought that the young man did an excellent job and looked at a little bit facially like Jackie Robinson. Jackie was much more solid. He was a
bigger guy.
Football. Yeah. He was a football player,
right.
and who became a baseball player, and so he was, I'd say probably 20 pounds more. He just was a more solid individual than the young man that played Jackie Robinson. But that's immaterial. He did a great job.
Yeah, I think the scenes with Leo Durocher, I thought those were very good. The guy, a lot of people remember the guy that played him was on Law and Order for many years. Chris Maloney, I thought he had some good scenes, particularly the one in the clubhouse where he's yelling at the ball players after they came up with that petition. Another incorrect thing I saw, though, that I read today, I think Phil Mushnick had it, where Durocher was suspended for that year. In the movie, they said he was suspended for kind of carousing with women, but he was actually suspended for gambling, right, or being with gamblers, wasn't he?
Right, and I was going to say, you're right. They were wrong there as well. It had nothing to do with women, and it was the fact that they had ordered him not to sit in the box with the known gamblers. As everybody knows, Havana, Cuba, at that time when they were having exhibition games down there, was really the capital of gambling in 1946, 47. Everybody went from Miami to Havana because the big-time gamblers owned all the casinos down there. And they ordered Durocher not to do that. And the first thing that came back was a picture of him sitting in the box. I don't remember, who the group were, but I know they were the big-time gamblers at the time. And the other thing was Happy Chandler didn't look anything like the guy that played Happy Chandler, but he was a more gregarious kind of guy, a bigger guy, and a United States Senator who became Commissioner of Baseball. I think they could have done a little bit more with that part because he was also, it wasn't that Rickey that said they weren't going to be on the field. It was the commissioner who was the one that stated you're going to forfeit the games if you don't play.
Yeah, Philadelphia didn't come out too well in this movie, Don. The manager of the Phillies, I think his name was Ben Chapman. The scenes with him really, riding Jackie with all the racial slurs he threw at him. I'm sure that was cleaned up, too. I'm sure they were even worse than what we heard in the movie. And, of course, the hotel. Remember they tried to get in the hotel in Philly, and the guy comes out and says, you can't stay here. So nothing didn't come across too well.
No, it did not. As Rickey said, the city of brotherly love was done. In fact, that's the reason everybody said, well, they're going to sign Roy Campanella because he was from 3 blocks from the ballpark. But the Phillies would have nothing to do with that. and he wound up with the Dodgers, as everybody well knows. He became a Hall of Famer. And I think maybe you and I talked about this before. I can't remember, but the incident with Chapman really got much more so out of hand than just Eddie Stanky coming over. Jackie was sliding into third base, and that's where the altercation actually took place. And the thing was that all the photographers, I know you'll remember, but a lot of people listening probably won't remember because they never, they had to be old enough to remember. The photographers always stood right by the coaching boxes on first and third
they were on the field.
They were on the field to get the best shots possible. And that was the end of that. When the altercation took place at third base, the photographers were never allowed on the field again. They had to be in that little box next to the dugout. They could never be on the field.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job recreating. Now, I never was at these stadiums, but just from seeing pictures and films, I think the way they did Ebbets Field and some of the other fields, all with computers, I mean, that's how they did it. But I thought very realistic. Ebbets Field looked great. I wish I was there to see it.
Well, I'll tell you, the part that looked the best was when they showed it from the outside. When they showed the front structure of Ebbets Field, it looked exactly, like Ebbets Field. It was amazing what a nice job they did. And the right field corner at Ebbets Field, and when Dixie Walker played right field, and then Carl Farrell played right field. Well, they had that screen up on top. The difference between Connie Mack Stadium and Philly, Mr. Mack put 3 layers of iron up there so you couldn't see through it. But at Ebbets Field, it was just wire up there between the center field scoreboard and the right field foul line. And because it was such a short distance that they tried to minimize the home runs, obviously. And but you're right. I thought I don't know what you call it, the people that designed it and did it, it looked pretty much very realistic.
Yeah, even
the Schaefer beer, even the Schaefer beer on top.
The signs, Schaefer beer signs, right? Yeah.
Right. Most people won't remember
Jim Blades.
Yep, and the one they didn't have, which was by the bullpen, it was probably the most noticeable. Most of, if you were there, was Old Goals for a treatment. Right behind the bullpen was this full sign of Old Goals, and that was a big part of Dodger Stadium as well.
I didn't see the sign of seen elsewhere, or at least pictures of it. Hit this sign and win a suit. It was some suit store in New York, wasn't it? Or was it
yes, there was.
Yes,
I think it was.
That had that.
I'm not sure about that. I thought Happy Felton's not whole gag. I thought they had somewhere you won a suit too.
That's right. Yeah, that Happy Felton. Yeah, a couple of criticisms, not big ones, but if you want to be accurate, baseball movies, we all look for these things. Nothing against the actor who played him, but I don't think the Red Barber character sounded anything like Red Barber, and
no.
Red Barber didn't describe games the way they wrote this character to do it. I thought that was pretty bad.
No, and not only that, he wasn't a tall, thin
Irish
person.
guy.
I mean, he didn't look anything like the guy that they.
No.
He must have been a friend of the directors or something. Because
well, he's done a lot of stuff as actor, but he's a big, tall Irish guy, and he's doing a Southern accent that wasn't the greatest Southern accent in the world.
No, he was. Fortunately, he was not too much of the picture, so he didn't deter. But I don't think anybody that went to see it or is going to see it that knew Red Barber or lived in Brooklyn or whatever. I don't think going to be overwhelmed by that character.
No, and they could have gotten somebody that I'm sure could have done the voice of Red a lot better. And I know Vince Scully didn't start doing the game till the 50s, but I guess that's another criticism I have with the movie. Great movie, I give it a solid 7 out of 10, but I would have liked to have seen the entire story of Jackie throughout his years in Brooklyn, what happened to him, and afterward. I think that would have made an even better movie rather than just have that 1 year where they get to the World Series and then it ends. If I was going to criticize it, I would say that. But otherwise, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really did. I thought it was very entertaining. I think a lot of kids will get a perspective of what baseball was like then. They also didn't point out which I thought they could have. That there were no helmets or anything like that. When he got hit in the head, he got hit in the head. There wasn't any,
Right.
That was another thing Branch Rickey initiated. He was the one that started having wearing the shell inside your cap, which was the first step as far as they went from that level to the helmets later on.
He took a shot in the movie, and then the next scene he's up, he's okay, he's walking with his wife. So that was a little bit unrealistic, I think.
Well, I do. As I say, there were so many great parts of the movie, and I've got to give Harrison Ford. I agree with your assessment. If you didn't know, you just walked in, you may not even know that was Harrison Ford. That's how well I thought he did. Unlike most of his pictures, where he's the lead character as a dominant star, in this particular picture, he took on the character of Branch Rickey, and I thought he did a marvelous job. I didn't see the New York Post today, so what else did Phil have to say about the movie?
Yeah, he mentioned a couple of things. We talked about Hermanski batting incorrectly in the movie, and
he did say
a couple
that.
other things. The Leo Durocher thing, getting suspended for the women, was really the gambling situation. But he didn't really give a review on the movie. He just pointed out those couple of, maybe he hadn't seen it yet. I don't know, but I think it's a great movie. One of the great baseball movies. It's not a small criticism we talked about. I just would have liked to have seen the entire story of Jackie. He did a lot after baseball, of course. They could have maybe done a half hour on that instead of, they kind of stretched it out a little bit long, I thought, to get to, that World Series. I would have liked to have seen more of his life story then, but otherwise, I thought they did a good job. It's making a lot of money. I think it made $56 million so far, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be like Star Wars. They're going to do Jackie Robinson Part 2, Jackie Robinson Part 3. Don't worry, they're not going to give up. Now that it's made so much money so quickly over the first 10 days to 2 weeks, they're going to find a way to get him back on the screen.
It's a great story to tell, obviously, the civil rights movement, and, when he retired, he didn't really want to retire. They traded him to the Giants, and he refused to go, right? Is that what happened? He said, I had enough, and I'm leaving baseball.
Well, as they emphasized in the movie, that he was 26 when he was signed, by Branch Rickey to go to Montreal.
Yeah.
So that made him 27 when he got to the Dodgers. And so at the end of 10 years, he was 37 years old, and he had diabetes badly. So I don't know. I don't even think he would have come back, even if they hadn't made the trade. I don't think he would have come back to play another year anyway.
Did he have the diabetes as a player? That was happening while he was a player?
Well, I think a lot of things happened that you really didn't know about. So I wouldn't want to say specifically. I wouldn't want to say specifically anybody that steals that many bases and has as much physical contact as he had, and football to boot. I'm sure that he had a lot of knee problems prior to his getting the diabetes, and then of course it just got worse.
Yeah, he had a very bad, case of it, if you want to call it that. He died at only 53. He unfortunately went blind pretty early in life and had a lot of issues. And they died in 1972. The hair went white. He looked a lot older than he did when he died too. It was kind of a sad way that he went. But he worked for Chuck for the Nuts for many years. I think he was in their personnel department. Did a lot of work for civil rights and. Served in the military. They kind of didn't talk a lot about that in the movie, but he did serve in the military honorably and did a lot of great things.
Yeah, he did a lot of great things, and he was a great football player to boot and a great track star as well. And before he ever got the chance to play baseball in the major leagues, and so. But again, they touched on a little bit of everything. You got to give him. We talked about Larry Doby, who really came up. Bill Veeck brought Larry Doby up only a few months after Jackie Robinson was playing in the major leagues. The only difference was that Jackie went through the whole minor league thing and then set the stage. The biggest part, I don't know whether you thought about it at the time, but our good friends over in Sanford, Florida, got a little publicity in this movie to go along with the shooting that we've been reading about for a year now.
Yeah. Yeah, Sanford did not come across too well here in Florida. They did not treat Jackie very well. And I think they did a good job of illustrating what he went through without probably going as far as they could have.
Right. The closest they got would be when they had to take him out of Sanford, and the other time was when he got to Toronto, and then, of course, as you pointed out, the whole team being rejected from the hotel. But, you know, the first few years, he never stayed with the team in certain cities, even Chicago, St. Louis. You know, there's a lot of times he had to stay away from the team because the hotels wouldn't allow him to come in. And so, that, you know, they didn't really dramatize that too much except for the one hotel in Philly.
And a couple of scenes with the Philly manager, I mean, you got the idea of what he was saying, but it could have been a lot. I'm sure he heard a lot worse. But I thought they did a good job. They had to keep it a PG-13, and I really wanted kids to be able to see this movie, so they had to clean that up a little bit, but still tell the story. And I thought they did a good job.
Well, the other thing that I didn't think they really did as fairly as they could have was Birdshot. You know, Birdshot.
Yeah, that was right.
The only thing they really talked about with Birdshot was that, and never really pointed it out once he became the manager, he never really realized that he managed. I don't know if that transpired between his wife, and I'll never put the uniform on again, or whether that was just something that happened in the movie. But Birdshot did a wonderful job coming in behind Leo Durocher, and did not wear a uniform. He wore a regular dress suit on, like as he pointed out, like Connie Mack, and ran the ball club. So I thought he got sort of shortchanged a little bit too.
When that character came in the movie, I thought about, because I think you had talked about it, we talked about it on the show, one of the other managers that never wore a uniform. A lot of people will recognize the guy who played Birdshot as the guy that used to be on Barney Miller.
Right.
Played Workaholics. That's who played Birdshot. I don't know if you ever watched Barney Miller, but he wore, I think in the movie he just wore like a jacket and then like a regular hat, and he didn't have the suit on in the movie.
Right, and I don't remember that being the exact case, to be honest with you. I thought he wore a jacket, not a. You know, this was more like the present day where they just wear the short sleeves and
like a windbreaker,
and the windbreaker. I don't think that was the case, but I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I don't think that was right.
I know people listening, they say, well, you guys are very picky, but you know, when you talk about a baseball movie, that's what we do. But I think you and I would both agree. Anybody who hasn't seen it, we recommend it. You're not going to be turned off by the little things we've talked about that are, you know, inaccurate. It's a very entertaining movie. It moved along. I think the 2 hours went by very quickly for me. I didn't find any lulls at all where I said, you know, this is too long.
Well, I think most people aren't going to remember Gene Hermansky. He was not a major force. He was really a fourth outfielder. The one thing he did do, which I don't know whether Phil pointed out, he did hit 3 home runs in the game and had a chance for 4. I remember listening to the game. It was either on a Saturday or Sunday, and he hit 3 home runs in the game and came up for the 4th time, but did not hit the 4th home run. But he was primarily. Which was a little unusual because the Dodgers were a heavy right-handed hitting team. The right field fence was short, but Snyder was really the only left-hander that played in the lineup. And you would have thought Gene Hermansky would have played a little bit more than he did, but that was not the case.